my name is Mark. I'm the director of a company called Logie Timber, based just south of Forres up on the Moray coast in Scotland. We supply home building companies like Macker and Our House and McGilvery's and Keith Builders with big structural timber frame builds. And that's something we're really passionate to try and push going forwards, is giving people a viable alternative to steel. You know, steel's been the easy choice for architects and engineers and builders for forever, but timber from Scotland can do this, and we should be trying to do our very best to push that. So I had a tree surgery company for a long time, and the passion for sawmilling always came from, you know, we were just taking these incredible bits of timber that have been hundreds and hundreds of years in the making and just chopping them up with a massive red blade chainsaw for firewood. And it was just heartbreaking to see, you know, you've got all these beautiful timber, beautiful trees, and Scotland's blessed with more elm than the rest of the country. And we're just chopping it up with a chainsaw and chucking it in the fire shed, and it was just wrong. It was just heartbreaking to see. And at the time, there really wasn't many smaller sawmills that would take small batches of hardwood timber. So we set the company up just to solely focus on hardwood originally. That was the plan, you know, focusing on elm particularly because Scotland has a great glut of elm still, and then oak, which we tend to do quite well. And that's predominantly all we focus on now. We're only doing Scottish timber. We don't import a single thing. We don't bring anything up from England. It's purely trying to promote Scottish timber. No chemicals whatsoever. We're not into the chemical treatment. Even our lubrication on our bandsaw mills is a plant-based oil rather than the diesel or the horrible chemicals that's used in some places. So that's all we're about, is just try and promote as much Scottish timber into the world, into the construction sites as we can. These trees they're far more about the story than it is just another building material for us. You know, we did a tree for Gordonston School, a big oak tree that was about 400 years old, maybe a bit more, maybe about 450 years old. And we need to honour that. We need to kind of, you know, really make a point of that story rather than it just being, there's another piece of timber, you know, like we have behind us. Every single one of these would have seen some incredible things in their lifetime. I mean, the youngest here is probably 100 years old at the very least. So they would have seen a hell of a lot of history. So we bought the Salvador with the goal of moving into flooring. You know, because Douglas fir and pine have big knots in them, you just cannot have that in premium grade flooring. So we've got the Salvador and we've got an end matcher, and the idea being is we take the timber, opticut, get rid of all the horrible knots that will cause real cracks, real defects, real issues in the drying process. Get rid of all of that, and then you end up with a really good premium product that you can end match. So the T&G is on the end of the board, so you can joint it over, you can joint it kind of outside of a joist. You don't have to joint it over the joist as well then. So that was why we bought it, and that's definitely a market we're keen to move into this year. But it's helped so much. We do just like, you know, 1.2 meter fencing slats, you know, just someone orders like, I don't know, 200 or 300 of those, and the chop saw is just like, it just took forever. Whereas you can just fire that machine up and two of you and you're through it in 10 minutes, you know, it's so much faster. Anybody can use it, you know, you just need one person that can run the computer, and then after that you just keep pressing the start button and you're away. That's it. To put a new operator onto a chop saw, you have to be very, very careful that they're putting their hands in the right place. It's not something you can kind of just turn the machine on and walk away almost, you know, whereas the Salvador you can pretty much, you know, you can set it up on the parameters and you can just have young guys there feeding and unloading without a huge worry about safety because it's all sealed inside. Whereas the chop saw, there's always a risk of them getting a bit too close to that spinny thing.